Hey everyone, welcome back to Knee to Knee. I'm Mark Merritt, and today's episode is all about leadership that actually connects. And I think you're going to love this one. My guest today is Ty Bennett. He's the founder of Leadership Inc. and best-selling author who spent the last 15 years helping leaders worldwide build trust, influence, and real connection through the power of storytelling. Ty isn't just a consultant, he's a business owner, a researcher, and someone who gets how to actually move people. In today's conversation, we're diving into some powerful territory. We talk about how storytelling can literally change your career. Ty shares the story that transformed his entire trajectory that happened in his 20s. We explore the shift from hierarchical leadership to partnership leadership, a concept that could reshape how you view the people you lead. And we get into what he calls empathetic drive, the balance between ambition and empathy that actually gets results without burning people out. You'll also hear about a simple but game-changing technique called the rule of two that you can implement today to deepen every relationship that you have, both at work and in your personal life. Whether you're a leader, an entrepreneur, or someone who just wants to connect more authentically, this episode has something for you. So stick around and let's sit down with Ty Bennett on Knee to Knee. Welcome to another edition of Knee to Knee. And we are excited today to have Ty Bennett with us. Ty, welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Well, let me tell everyone a little bit about Ty. I've got just a brief introduction like normal. Ty is the founder of Leadership Inc. He's a best-selling author and a leader in redefining how we connect and lead with impact. Ty's spoken worldwide, helping leaders build trust and influence through storytelling and empathy. So I did run that past you, Ty, before we started, so I assume we're okay accurate, right?
I think it was beautifully written. I will take it for sure. I've been introduced worse in many different situations.
Well, Ty and I met, coming up on 20 years ago, I think was the first time we met. And we were visiting before we started that. We probably hadn't seen each other or even spoken in maybe 10 years or so.
Yeah.
But last week we had a recording with Julie, and Julie was like talking Ty this and Ty that, and on one of our first phone calls. And I thought, I haven't talked to Ty forever. I need to reach out to him. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I mean, seriously, awesome work that you're doing. It's fun to reconnect and see what you're up to. And yeah, I always love a good conversation around leadership and how we impact people.
Absolutely. And we've had an opportunity to have many different types of guests on from different fields. And I'm excited to, from your end, from the training side and the consulting side with groups. Tell us a little bit more about Leadership Inc.
So yeah, I've written 4 books. My 5th comes out next year. And before that, and continue to be an entrepreneur, owning and building businesses outside of training as a service. But for the last 15 years, this has been my main business where I speak all over the world, primarily keynote speeches for sales and leadership groups, all sorts of different industries. What I'm trying to do is bring my real life experience in owning and running businesses, as well as proprietary research. So like we just finished a national research study on high performance and are constantly studying what's working, what's not, and trying to bring some of those insights to audiences, to leaders, to help them to be more effective in what they're trying to accomplish.
So is this new research that you just finished, is that going to be in your upcoming book next year?
Yeah, that's the basis of the next book. It's called Redefining High Performance. So yeah, we're fleshing out all the research and then obviously adding some things to it. I've actually written a couple of fables that illustrate some of it, which is kind of fun. And yeah, that'll be great.
I love the narrative stuff. You've got so many authors that write narratives, but they build into it the principles like you're talking about.
You know this about me. You can kind of see it behind me. I wrote a book called The Power of Storytelling. I think storytelling is one of the best tools that we have to communicate ideas, to connect with people emotionally, to cause people to remember the message. So I wanted to, in this next book, combine story with strategy and be able to try and give both.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the things that I've done in my speaking over the years is tell stories. Those are the fun things to do. So, and you mentioned storytelling. So, and I don't want to give away any book stuff that you have coming out, but when you look at what you've done over the course of your career. What were some of the key stories that stood out to you that helped illustrate what you're doing on a day-to-day, in leadershiping?
Yeah. So the first story that really changed the trajectory of my career and probably where I honed in on like storytelling is crucial. My very first business in my 20s, I had a business in direct sales. I started with my brother. We were young, 20 something. And the reality is, I was talking to a lot of people and they were not buying from me and doing business with me. I didn't know why at the time. I was just
That's
arrogant
brutal.
enough to think I was awesome. And so a mentor gave me some advice that actually kind of scared me. He said, I want you to go to the last 5 people who told you no and ask them why. And I was like, I'll do anything but that. Like any other ideas. But I
So
did.
true.
Yeah, I did. I actually went and had these conversations. And all 5 people told me it was my age. They all said, at the time I'm 21. I probably look like I was 12 or something. And uh but I didn't know that. Like, as dumb as that sounds, I just was talking to people, not realizing they were going, why would I listen to this kid? And so I came
Well,
back to this
yeah,
mentor.
exactly.
Yeah. And I said, okay, it's my age. And he was like, I know. I was like, why did we have to go do
But
that? Right.
you have to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
It's
I
just
had to
like,
hear it. I think it was powerful. And I go, what do I do? I'm not going to wait till I'm 40. And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, what kind of mentor are you? Like, help me out, And he goes, okay, what did other young entrepreneurs do? What did Bill Gates do? What did Steve Jobs do? And as soon as he said Bill Gates, I had this idea. And then we kind of crafted it out into a story. So then when I would sit down with people, Mark, I can kind of just even tell you this story. I'd sit down with
yeah,
people like you, Mark. They're older than me, more successful than me, like more experienced than me. And now for the first time, I realized they were looking at me going, why would I listen to this kid? So this was like the elephant in the room objection. And what do we typically do? We pretend it's not there. Like we
yeah, most
ignore it.
people avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality, like if we take the literal translation of that, if there was an actual elephant like right behind me in the room with us, we would have to acknowledge it. Like it would be like, what is happening right now? So the first thing out of my mouth, I'd go, Mark, I kind of feel like a young Bill Gates. And most people would kind of laugh and be like, what? And I go, here's what I mean. If you remember, Bill Gates was 19 when he dropped out of school, right? And at the time, computers were huge. They were the size of refrigerators. They were super expensive. And Bill Gates went around and told everybody he was going to put a personal computer in every home in the world. People probably thought he was nuts, right? Like, who's this young, naive entrepreneur? No idea what he's talking about.
At 19.
At 19,
Right.
exactly, right? And here's the thing, Mark, I'm not saying I'm going to be as rich as Bill Gates is. And I'm not saying I'm going to change the world the same way Bill Gates has. But I do know that I have something here. And I'm just asking you to take a serious look. Is that fair? And you see that story
Yeah.
told thousands and thousands of times. Quite literally built a multi-million-dollar business in my 20s. And for me, I look back on it and I go, that story changed everything, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so ingrained in me. I've told it so many times. Like I can just tell it, like we're just sitting here and jump into a role play. That was a game changer. And so there's been others along the way, but like for me, I went, yeah, stories work. The right story told the right
They
way,
do.
and it builds connection. It's powerful.
And you tap into the emotion side that goes with that, right? If you can tap into that piece when you're storytelling, then what ends up happening is now that it's not just the words that you said really went, oh, okay, yeah, what he said made sense, but now it felt different. And if you can tap into that feel different side, now you've made that connection with that person beyond intellectual. So that when you walk away, they go, oh yeah, I don't remember that kid's name, but man, he really said something that hit me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And people ultimately take action, make decisions based off of emotion, right? And
right.
so as communicators, whether you're in leadership or in sales or whatever, we're influencers. We want to move people, right? And so that becomes one of the best tools that you have to do it.
Right. Yeah, I love storytelling. Definitely. It really just motivates and moves people down the path, whether we're looking at leadership or even just sharing information with people.
Yeah, I agree.
So in your view, how can leaders move beyond that typical hierarchical leadership? How to best, we've all seen from the business world, we can look back and go, okay, there's this book or that book or this book or that book. And I've read all these but we're still often stuck in that hierarchical, piece. How do we as individuals, whether we're in midstream or up and upper in leadership to be able to create those connections, to be able to help move an organization along.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can kind of see this book behind me I wrote called Partnership is the New Leadership. I believe that leadership is a partnership. And so it starts by seeing your people that way, right? If we think of it as a hierarchy, when I view people as subordinates, that feels very different than if I view you as a partner,
Yes.
right? If I view you as a partner, I see you. I try and connect with you. I care about you as a person first, not as a tool, but as a human being. And
Right.
so I make an effort to connect and to build a relationship and to build establish trust. There's a balance in all of that because obviously we need to get results. We need to get the job done. We want to move things forward, right? In my new book that's coming out, we talk about three different mindsets, and they're really kind of a balance. One of them we call empathic drive. So, empathic drive is the balance between ambition and empathy. So,
Okay.
a lot of leaders are very ambitious, results oriented, driven, and that's fantastic. But you need to soften it with empathy because sometimes
Hmm.
the shadow side of ambition is you run people over, right? And you burn people out. And
Right.
but empathy also has a shadow side in that it can become we can replace kindness with softness, and we get rid of standards and we become more people pleasing, and we carry everything ourselves as a leader. The balance between the two allows us to have drive and connect with people. It doesn't mean that we lower standards, it means we raise connection, and therefore all of us are moving forward in a better way. And so I think, yeah, I think if we approach things with this partnership approach and develop this balance or this integration of empathic drive, we can really connect and move people in a different way.
Yeah, I think that, and I totally agree with you. I gave a keynote the other day, and it was on empathy. And so
Awesome.
you hit some of those key points where we were talking specifically about, how to create empathy and having boundaries. And, there's all that, it's not just nice. It's not just kind. We still have to have those boundaries that
Yeah.
are in place.
Yeah. Yeah,
Otherwise,
I mean, every positive trait has a shadow side, right? Like
yes.
there's times that we can skew too far one direction. And because of that, I really like to look at this from like a balance perspective of how do we balance things that sometimes feel contradictory, right? Ambition and empathy. There's a beautiful blend when you put those together.
Do you have an example of that you could share?
Yeah, yeah, I can think of quite a few. So I'll just give you an example in my own life, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. This is more a reflection of poor leadership. I
Which we've all
currently
had.
own,
We've all had those
yeah,
moments.
I mean, I've had good and bad, all of them.
Right.
I currently own a couple of Ninja Warrior gyms in Utah. One of them that we bought in Sandy, Utah, we bought from a lady who, to be honest, was checked out, mismanaged, like just was not engaged in the process, right? So in the process
Right.
of us trying to buy this gym, I had been in several times. I had met the workers, like knew a couple of them fairly well, and she called me in a panic one day and she said, the sale can't happen. I'm just closing the doors. And I was like, we're like in the what are you talking about? Like,
You're
we're
at the
ready
end of
to
this.
pay
Yeah.
you. Like, and she goes, all of my workers are leaving and she gave this date, August 11th. Like, I have no workers and the sale wasn't going to happen till like September. And I was like, why are they leaving? She goes, they all have to go back to school. And in my mind, I was like, that's not true. Like, my kids go to school. I know when the dates are.
Right.
So I said, let me go talk to him. So I came in to the gym and I said, hey, I mean, I'd started to develop this rapport right, with them. And I said, told me that that everybody had to leave on this date, like going back to school. What's going on? And they were just open with me. They're like, we won't work for her anymore. We're all leaving that day. And I said, okay, but we're trying to buy it and it's going to happen this day. And they're like, well, if you guys are taking it over, we'll stay. Like, it solved the problem by like
Yeah.
showing up in a real way with them, right? That you could ask all my workers. They know that I'm not there's no like there's standards, right? I mean, and
Hmm.
even before I bought it, in that same conversation, I'm like, hey, guys, we got to keep this place looking a little bit better, right? Like, I know I'm not the boss at all, but like, I can walk
But
in and I
work
can
with
see
me.
it, right? Like, there's just things, right? So that simple basis of relationship literally went from like, we are walking out and quitting our job to, yeah, we're in for sure. Like, it was not complicated, it just required a leader to show up and be real and connect.
Right.
I called her back and she's like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "We figured out." I don't even know what I told her. I was like, "We figured out
Yeah,
how they
you
can
kind
do
of
it
want
with
to you
school.
don't
Like,
want
we're
to go
gonna cover it." Like, yeah, I was trying
you
not
don't
to
want to
ruin the
go, they don't
sale,
like
right?
you.
Yeah, it's you. That's the reality,
Yeah.
right? But here's the truth. Our research actually showed interesting statistics. 40% of people, working Americans, said they have left a job to follow a boss that they liked somewhere else. And
Yeah.
more than 40% said they have left a company they liked because they had a boss that they didn't. Right. So in that situation, it was her. But in most situations, it is us. Like, it's the leader. Like, that closest relationship matters. And
Yeah.
people want to feel a sense of connection with the person that they're working with closest.
I couldn't agree with you more. Years ago, I remember I was the COO for a company and I was on the phone with an old boss of mine that was in the staffing industry. And he's like, Mark, I really need you. I'm like, okay, what do you need? And he goes, I need you to move to the Midwest. I'm like, where in the Midwest? You're going to have me leave the company I work for to come work with you, which I will do. You want me to go to Iowa? Right. I mean, that was my thought is what's in Iowa? But we did it because of him. Right. And
Did he
so
say, if you build it, they will come? I mean, something to that effect?
no,
Like,
no, no, it wasn't along those lines. And unfortunately, we never made it to the Field of Dreams field when we were there. We did get around a lot, but yeah,
yeah,
we left the company that I had that I was here in Utah and went to the Midwest out in the middle of literally the middle of the cornfields is where our house was. And so because of exactly what you're saying, where someone, a former boss that he and I are just best of friends now, just picked up the phone and said, hey, I need some help.
yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, those relationships matter. I
Right.
wrote in my book, Partnerships and New Leadership, I wrote a lot about a guy who became a friend. He's since passed away. His name's Ken Pendry. He was the founder of First Watch Restaurants. And the reason I
Okay.
connected with them is I had a friend who was the vice president of the National Restaurant Association. I had spoken for. His name's Paul. And he texted me one day and said, "Hey, I'm leaving the National Restaurant Association." And I was like, shocked. Like, Paul lived, breathed, this was his baby. And I go,
Yeah.
"Where are you going?" And he goes, "First Watch Restaurants." And I was like, "Why?" And he goes, "Ken Pendry, when you meet him, you'll get it." That's all he said. It was that relationship, right? And once I met
Right.
Ken, and I ended up writing a lot about him because as a CEO, he was an unbelievable example of what we're talking about. Because people
Yeah.
loved him because he connected and he engaged and he got the best out of them.
Exactly. One of the things I love to ask people is what is the one thing that someone can do today? I want people to go away from going, okay, here's the nugget that we pulled out today. So what's the one thing that someone can do today to help make a difference based off of the conversation we've had?
So I'll introduce a concept that I share that's really simple in theory. It's hard in practice, but it's a game changer because it's really concrete. I think we've all been in conversations where we want to make a connection, but we end up hijacking the conversation. And what we do is you share a story, Mark, and it pops a story into my mind. And so I jump in and almost overtake the conversation. It's almost like I'm like, "Mark, we're done talking about you. Let's talk about me now." So I teach leaders what I call the rule of two. The rule of two is this: whenever somebody says something about themselves, you have to ask at least two questions before you can talk about yourself. Now, I say at
Okay.
least two because sometimes you need five. I don't know. But the idea is when you share, Mark, I want to validate and empathize with you. And in that, I'm building connection. Most people have been taught that commonality builds connection. There's a truth to that, but actual focus on the other person builds more connection. And so that rule of two is just simple. Yeah, I have it in my mind all the time. And trust me, I don't get it perfect because I jump in. I'm like, how do I share a
Oh,
story
I
right
got
there? Like,
something I
I
want to
need,
share. Yeah.
yeah. And just a reminder of like, no, ask some more questions. Be genuinely interested. Validate what they're saying before you jump in.
Yeah. No, that is That is awesome, and thank you for sharing that. I think how often that applies into leaders, but I think as well that applies into just in our everyday stuff as we're trying to connect
For
with
sure.
those people in
Every
our
relationship.
community, right? Every relationship can have that. So, Ty, thank you so much for coming on with us this morning and spending a few minutes with us before you run off to your ninja gym and, do whatever you're going to do there. So appreciate you coming this morning, and we'll actually put in the description all the links out for your books, those kind of things. And then what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Ty?
Pretty easy to find if you search Ty Bennett on social media. My website's just
Okay.
my name. So yeah, happy to connect. I'm very active on all social channels and stuff. So yeah, love meeting people.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Ty. And thank you everyone for joining us again on Knee to Knee. And I hope you have a great day, and we will catch you on the next go around. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.